Hello, and welcome to Such Nice Work. My name is Kendra, and today is Tuesday, November 11th, 2014, and this is episode 2 of the Such Nice Work podcast. I wanted to thank everybody for nice feedback on my first episode. Obviously, it was my first episode, so what did I learn from that? I learned that I need to make better show notes in advance and be a little more prepared, which I did today, I think. But we'll see if that all shakes out or not. I now am in a time crunch for my family to arrive back at home because I was busy making show notes. So we'll see what happens. Today I am wearing this lovely number that I have made. I made it a little while ago, but I call it my Lydia Shawlette Cowl. It is based on the Lydia Shawl by Denise Crawford, which is a free crochet pattern you can get on Ravelry. I made it out of Bernat Softy Chunky, and this is one ball. I just went till I was done, and when I was done, that was the end of me making the shawl. But it wasn't quite long enough to wear, I don't know, normal shawl-like, so I just attached the end together and made it like a cowl shawlette thingy. I like wearing it on my shoulder. I think it's very comfy and cozy and warm that way. Let's see. Last week, I forgot to mention a few of my favorite podcasts when I was going through my long list. So I think I will just touch on a few of them, and you can just check them out, because I think if you check them out, you will see why they are fabulous. So the 4 major ones I think I forgot that were on the back side of my show notes, and I forgot to read, were Foxes and Socks. I like to see them all be sisterly and talk and interact, and makes me wish that me and my sisters could do the same thing. Suburban Stitcher, I enjoy her podcast as well, especially, again, when she has guests. It is just fun to watch 2 people have a conversation. It's kind of like eavesdropping, I think, is why it's so enjoyable. Which actually, they were talking about on the last episode of Foxes and Socks, liking to eavesdrop on people. I've been trying to explain this to my daughter recently, the difference between nice eavesdropping and eavesdropping in like a mean way, which there's a very subtle difference, and it's really difficult to explain. Maybe the fact that it's difficult to explain means it's not generally a good thing, I don't know, but doesn't stop me from doing it. Oh, and 2 more I want to talk about. Minerva Turkey. I just love her podcast. She is so genuine and interested and fun to listen to, and she's always got good enabling. She is fun to live vicariously through, because I just don't have the budget to buy all those things, but I sure do like seeing them all. I also like watching Lindsay on Entirely Crafty. She has the most awesome craft room. I would love to have a craft room like that. If I had a craft room like that, though, I'm sure I would just stack stuff all over it and not be able to actually craft in it. So kudos that she seems to be able to function in that space. So moving on to the squeaky wheels. First, we'll talk about last week's squeaky wheels and whether or not I greased them. I found this whole concept, the podcast in general, and then certainly the whole idea of breaking down squeaky wheels, is really helping me with accountability, because I don't want to seem like a loser who didn't do what she said she would do. Even if nobody watches this but me, the fact that I made something a priority enough to record it, if I don't do it, I don't know, it just bothers me more. So I should just say out loud all the things I want to do and put them on tape, and then I would actually feel the need to do them. Though I guess this isn't really tape. That's kind of an antiquated thing to say now. Put it on online, because that's basically what I'm doing. The old ones that I needed to do was to get the podcast up and running, which I did. I figured out how to use YouTube, I think. I only had one hiccup where I accidentally set it to private. I don't know how. And I kind of think I know how I took it off private, but I'm not sure. It did take 20 plus hours to upload, which was interesting. And then I got to a point where I went to publish the video and it all just disappeared. And I thought everything was gone. And I kind of started to freak out. And before my freak out was over, it magically appeared on YouTube. So I don't know if that's something that regularly happens, that there's like a little lag between publishing and it appearing. But yeah, there was a little bit of a freak out in there. I also thought it was interesting to go through the whole process of like uploading it and everything, because there's a lot of stupid stuff on YouTube. And I guess some people probably think that this is stupid and don't understand why anybody would watch a podcast or make a podcast or whatever. But there's a lot of stupid stuff. And I never understood how people, like, I don't know, got to putting it on there. But I guess that if your stupid video is short, it uploads quick. And there's this, like, adrenaline rush after you film and you upload and yay! And then you wait 20 hours and reconsider whether or not you should post it, in the case of my video. But if it's something short, I guess it would still probably upload in the time that you've got that, like, yay, adrenaline rush. And so, yeah, you would probably post the stuff of you and your friends doing stupid stuff. But when the longer time period you can reconsider and think, is this really what I want to be doing? Because the whole concept of podcasting, there's kind of two options. Either no one's going to watch it, and that's, I guess, kind of sad, but it also depends on the reason you're doing it. I don't know. It's kind of therapeutic to talk to a camera. And actually, theoretically, somebody is listening to everything I have to say, which doesn't necessarily happen all the time, especially on the topics that I'm talking about, because when I lapse into crafting and canning and, I don't know, my life, people tend to glaze over and not care. But if you don't care, you can just turn it off, and that's fine. I still got to say it, and that's the important part. And I guess the second option is that people will watch it, and that's kind of weird too, because that means you kind of put yourself out there, and people can comment negatively, theoretically. I guess they comment negatively, at least they're commenting, right? But yeah, it's putting yourself out there. So there's a lot to consider about whether this is a good idea or not. And I still don't know what I think. Let's see. What else did I have? I'm scrolling through my show notes. Oh, so the next thing I needed to work on was the displays for my craft show. And now I will insert pictures right here of finished displays. My husband and I put these together, and then I set them up in a pretend 8x8 spot in my yard. 8x8 is not very big. The displays are pretty cool. They're like a board, and then they have a little kickstandy leg with shelves on them, and then all my cards can fit on the shelves. And then we just bought some hooks, actually, to put on the blank paneled walls, so that I can hang hangers with crafty goodness on it. The wood that I used is actually barn wood from what I call our barn pile. I told you last time that we live on a farm that has been in my family for over 100 years. And there's two barns on the property. One of them is currently being held up by a tree, waiting to fall over, and the other one has collapsed. And so we harvested wood from the one that has collapsed, and yeah, we use that wood. I think it's kind of cool that I can kind of connect all the craftiness with my ancestors, because I don't know, I think I kind of craft because they did. My grandma did a lot of needlework, and so having that stuff around growing up kind of made needlework seem normal and cool and like something I wanted to do. I also knew that it was something that I should start doing young, because she was always complaining that she couldn't see to do the work. And I talk a lot about to people when they're like, well, why are you wasting your time crocheting now? You have kids and you should be, I don't know, busy doing everything for them instead of the little bit of stuff I do for myself, because people are crazy. But I realized that, like, theoretically my hands are functioning the best they're going to function now. And they're just going to get worse the older I get. I know they're going to end up super arthritic. In my early 20s, I went to a chiropractor who's like, oh yeah, your hands are already full of pre-arthritis. And I thought, great, because everything I like to do involves my hands and small work. So I figure while my eyesight is still here and my hands still function, now is the time to craft. There's a lot of ums. I apologize. I need to find a better way to think without saying I also, that's another funny thing. When I was uploading the podcast, I never actually watched the whole thing, but I had to go through certain parts to, I don't know, stick stuff in. And so I had it playing really fast, and I realized that I talk incredibly fast because I couldn't set it any more than 1.5 to 2 times fast, or I couldn't understand any of my words. And then I could tell when I was thinking because all of a sudden it would sound like a normal person talking. So I apologize if you're trying to listen to me on a speeded up version because I probably sound like an idiot. Let's see. So moving on to things that I needed to complete in my life stuff. That squeaky wheel was to work on my apples. And it turns out I think I had more bushels of apples than I thought because I thought there were 2 bushel boxes that had jars in them, but my husband had put a box of jars on top of 2 bushels of apples. So yeah, we've been working through that as much as we can. I still have 6 bushels of apples left. I got 7 quarts dealt with. 2 buckets are in the fridge waiting for me to mess with them this afternoon. They've all been cut up, but I need to actually run them through the canner. Yeah, the process is taking a while, and it has not been a priority, but it is going to be more of a priority coming up this week. And it is going to remain my squeaky wheel, will remain my apples, because they're starting to go bad, some of them. And I have worms in apples that I don't think originally had worms. I think my worms have moved from one apple to the other, so I need to rectify that. So yes, that's my life squeaky wheel for the week, is to finish my apples. And then after this weekend, I need to start cooking for my son's luau. My youngest is turning 1 on the 26th of November, and we are having a luau for him the weekend before because on my mom's side, everybody's Hawaiian. I know, don't I look it? No, I don't, but I am Native Hawaiian, and first birthday luau's are kind of a thing, so yes, all my children have had them, well, or will have them after next week. So not this Saturday, but the following Saturday is the luau, and I have started doing nothing. Luau's, at least in the sense of what I'm doing, primarily center around food. So I need to make Kahlua pig and Chinese turkey and cut up veggies for chop suey and make manapuas, and then that's all the stuff I think I can do ahead of time. And then as it gets closer, there will be more things to do. So this weekend I have the craft show, and then it's all about luau. Then we move on from there. So yes, my squeaky wheel for my crafty life. I need to do a dry run for my Lawrence show on Sunday. I need to, since I'm going by myself, I need to carry all of those displays you saw in from the car to my spot and set them up alone. And I can lift them all. I made sure of that, but I need to make sure that I can do it all in one fell swoop. And also know how long it's going to take me because I have a limited amount of time to set up because my husband works nights, so somebody is coming in early for him, but he won't be home till like 4:30 in the morning. And the show starts at 10, and I live 2.5 hours from the location. So if I leave here by like 4:30, I should be there by 7, which gives me 3 hours between when I get there and when the show starts, which is going to be cutting everything really close. But I need to do a dry run. And then I guess the squeaky wheel is that the Lawrence show is happening, and I need to vend and do all that. And then figure out if it's a success. I keep questioning what that means. I don't know what makes it a success. I guess I will know better after. This is kind of a feeling out show to decide what works, what doesn't, and to make sure this is really something we can kind of make a go of. So we'll see. So now we shall move on to will I procrastinate or will I prioritize? I really, really, really want to work on my own stuff right now. I was fighting with myself the other night because I am really bored of working on the things that I'm going to sell because they are all boring. And they're all boring because things that are hard, I don't think I would get enough money back out of to make them worth selling. But I really want to do something where I have to like stare at the pattern and, you know, I can't mindlessly do. That would be really fun. But still coming up here, and I really want to bead something. I've never put beads in my crochet, but that's coming up. So let's see. So we have the Giant's scarf that I am working on. I have done nothing to this week except to add little dealy bobber to show that I did nothing this week. I went down and dug through my beading stuff to put together some stitch markers because I didn't have any. And I found the little charm that has, it has a little wheelbarrow with flowers, which is appropriate because my husband's uncle is a nurseryman. So flowers, all that good stuff. Makes me think of him. And then this morning, I pulled out my basket weave diamond throw again, and this pattern looks like this. And I'm making this for my husband's cousin and her husband, and I'm using Red Heart Super Tweed in Mulberry. And I pulled it out, and I got a couple rows in it this morning as a reward to myself for finishing sewing in the ends on the rest of the stuff I needed to do. I decided I should do something fun for me. So I think I did like 3 rows because this is where I was before. But right now I'm working on the knurl ridge. Turned out, actually, it was kind of exciting when I pulled it out that I'm a whole lot further than I realized. I only have like 20 rows left, and then top and bottom border, which really isn't bad because how many rows did the piece have to begin with? I think, let's see, oh, that's the pillow. Yeah, 159 rows plus then some bordering, and so I don't know. I'm 3/4 of the way done, which is kind of cool. It took me a while to figure out where I was in the pattern. I probably should have marked that, but I think when I put it down, I didn't intend to like walk away from it for months and months and months. I'm also a little concerned because this is one of the first projects that I undertook because I'm crazy and thought taking on some big Afghans was a great way to start learning to crochet. But I'm a whole lot better now, and I know that my tension's better and stuff, and so I'm curious how it's all going to turn out looking in the end, if you're going to be able to tell a difference or not. They do not do anything yarny, so I'm sure that they won't notice, but I think I might, because I already kind of noticed a difference in putting stitches in the row that was there, the existing row, and then stitching on stuff I'm doing now. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm really excited to have this done, and I think I'm going to have a ton of yarn left. I think I may have got enough yarn to make the blanket and the pillow, and all I'm doing is the blanket, but the yarn matches the couch behind me like perfectly. So I kind of want to make a throw or something for myself, or like a large shawly wrap thingy. I'll figure that out when I see how much I have left. Let's see, what else do I have in progress that I can procrastinate over? Oh, leg warmers. I started working on this last week while my podcast was uploading. It is based on, it's like a recipe that I found on a woman's blog, and I could not find the blog this morning, which is only going to be a problem because I only have one of them almost done. So I need to go look for it. When I find it, I will link it in the show notes, but I was running out of time. So this is made out of Red Heart Super Saver in Black Light using a size H hook. It has some ribbing around the bottom, and then it's worked on the side, back and forth. And then you apply ribbing to the top. And they're very bright. But I was kind of wanting something bright. I have a black skirt and also a denim skirt that I kind of want to still be wearing even though it's cold, and I wanted to wear some like spandex or something underneath them. But I thought this would be kind of fun to see poking out of the bottom. That's why they're very bright, and they're going to go from my ankle all the way kind of up and over my knee a little so that they will stay warm. When I had this laying on my leg just to check if it would fit, it was quite toasty. So I'm looking forward to having its mate. When I upload this, I'm actually going to work on these. So that is going to be my uploading project. So I'm proud of yous. I got a whole lot of things done this week. So these are things I'm going to sell at the craft show. This is a card holder. It's made out of red heart shimmer, the size H hook, and then I made some little cards to go with it with hand stamped envelopes. And then the cards, I don't know if you can see, the red is shimmery to match the shimmer yarn. This left and right thing has still confused me. Okay, there. And so these fit in here just like so. Good stocking stuffer, like a small present. So hopefully this will make somebody's holiday very fun. Next, I have another organizer that I finished. I showed you this one last week too. This one freaks out my camera. Okay, Red Heart Super Saver in Glowworm green, or no, yeah, and Day Glow, which is the multi. Then we have a little sparkly button. For the buttons, I've been diving into my stash of what I call the Mountain of Good Intentions, because I have a huge stash of craft supplies for sewing and paper crafts and yarn and all sorts of things, and it's all been bought with really, really good intentions and plans, and everything is useful and I can make everything, and then I just don't have time, or I move on because something else shiny happens and I want to do that instead. So then inside the organizer there are these cards, which are all, there we go, bright and leopardy and flipping out the camera too. And we have some envelopes that are stamped with little hearts, and then some note paper with little hearts, some more envelopes, and a pen. So that should be fun for somebody as well. Hopefully encourage some people to write some real letters, because getting mail is really fun when that mail does not require you to send a check in return or is not soliciting money in any form. I also finished this organizer made out of Red Heart Super Saver in the color Zebra. Little button on the front. I used an H hook for this one also. I've kind of been perfecting the organizer pattern that I like to use. This has some stamped note paper in it as well. Some matching envelopes. There we go. And some cards. I thought these were a little bit more masculine because people forget that men need to send cards too. And every time I've given a man a stationery set, because people think that's a weird gift, guys are always really excited to get stationery because they hate having to buy it. But, you know, people expect thank you notes and birthday presents and whatever, and having a place to keep it is a good thing. So, yeah, men in your life for Christmas, think about getting them cards and stuff. They'd probably like it more than you think. Also, I made this one out of pink camo, light raspberry, and then some scraps of like a cafe or light coffee. Anyways, I didn't have the ball band on it. This has been around for a while. And then I made some of these. There. These cards. And they really do fit in there. Some note paper that's got a matching stamp, and then the matching kind of a snowflakey, flowery thing on there. Pen. So that's another little set. So I got all of those done, and I also finished the napkin rings I was working on last week. These are in Red Heart Shimmer in the brown color. I used the G hook, and this is a Drops design pattern, Drops Extra 0-728. I just made the napkin ring part. I think there's like a doily or something too. But I thought these napkin rings are kind of cool because you can wash them, and they're small, so they could like sit in your drawer all year and not be in the way. We only use cloth napkins at my house. That was how I was raised. I like a cloth napkin. I know lots of people like paper napkins, but it's kind of nice to have a set on hand. Or even you can use some nice napkin rings on paper napkins and make them look a little nicer. Let's see, moving on to what I'm reading. I am still reading Anne of Avonlea by Ellen Montgomery to the kids. It is not as good as Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables was really exciting. I kept wanting to, see what the next part was. And there are really good parts so far to Anne of Avonlea. But it doesn't feel like a cohesive story. It feels like a bunch of short stories. Like Lucy Maud Montgomery kept thinking, like, oh, I should write a little bit about this. And I tried a little bit about that. And she wrote these little vignettes and then just kind of lumped them together. But there's not necessarily, at least it hasn't shown to me, that there is a consistent thread of a story through it. Maybe at the end, all of a sudden, I'll be like, oh, I get it. But right now, I don't quite get it. But we'll see. It's still, it's a good book. It's just not as exciting. And I have been listening to the audiobook of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. When I was uploading last week, I downloaded that story from my library. Because I needed to not be streaming stuff and using up my internet. So I had to download a book. It's a good book. It's epistolary, which is the fun way of saying it's written in letters. I have been finding following the timeline kind of difficult in an audiobook. It's the first time I've read an epistolary novel. Listened to. Are those words interchangeable now? I think they might be for a lot of people. But it's the first time that I've listened to an audio version of a book that was written in letters where you can't go back and look at the dates. And also the dates just kind of fly out of my head as soon as I hear them. Because I guess in the grand scheme of things, the dates aren't as important as the information in the story. But yeah, so I've been having a hard time kind of following that timeline. Luckily, it doesn't jump around very much. It is a good book. It's kind of tense in some parts. I actually went and looked on Wikipedia. It deals with a teenage boy, and he's writing letters to somebody. You aren't sure who, at least at this point. I don't know who. And he is writing what's going on in his first year of high school. And he is very focused on certain issues that are taking place. And it's becoming apparent that something is being suppressed. And I went onto Wikipedia to find out what happens a little because I kind of wanted to know if something bad was going to happen. In part because I was listening to it late at night and I knew I was going to have to go to bed. And if something bad was going to happen, I didn't want that to be like the last thing I encountered for the day. And I also didn't figure I should stay up all night. And it was starting to like give me anxiety that I wanted to know what was going to happen. Which this has happened before recently in movies too and stuff where I don't want to know what happens till a certain point where I start to worry that what's going to happen is going to be bad or traumatic. And then I look on Wikipedia and I kind of, because I can skim the summaries without like reading all the details, and I can like, if there's the thing you're looking for to see if it's going to happen, you can kind of skim and see if you see that word, and if you do, you're like, oh no, or you're like, okay, I've got a while, or even just the knowing makes it a little less, I don't know, disturbing for me. So yeah, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to read next. I have downloaded the F. Scott Fitzgerald book, This Side of Paradise. I think that's the next thing I'm going to listen to when this ends, because this will end I'm on part 4 of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I have to upload podcast tonight, and so I will have some more time when I can't watch my own podcasts or stream things on the internet. So they mentioned the book The Side of Paradise in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I went and downloaded it. I downloaded the audiobook from Books Should Be Free. It's a website that has a lot of audiobooks for older classics and stuff. And they're good. I guess they're calling themselves Loyal Books now, but the bookmark I had was still Books Should Be Free. So you could look it up under that. There's a lot of good children's books and like things you would have been assigned in high school. Those kind of books. So that's kind of interesting. And it also gives me, that site has been giving me good ideas of things I should read classically. I'm also thinking what else I'm interested in reading. I think I want to find a vampire book. I have not read a vampire book in my adulthood at all, but I was thinking about what kind of books I used to enjoy. And I remembered back in the day on AOL message boards reading people's vampire-y works that they would post like chapter by chapter, and that being really exciting. And so now I want to find something vampire-y. So if you have something vampire-y that's not like crazy creepy, and also isn't super tweeny, because yeah, not really into that. Yeah, I'm open to suggestions on vampire-y stuff. So let's move on to what I'm watching. I haven't really watched much this week, but my husband and I were watching Top Chef Duels on Hulu. And I have generally enjoyed the whole Top Chef franchise. I like to see the competitions and stuff. But on Duels, I really feel like they're trying to make drama where none exists. Like, they really want this to be a show that's head-to-head in duels, and these people are fighting, and I don't really think the chefs care that they're against each other, and I don't really think they're smack-talking, because the interviews feel very edited. I'm down to just watch food porn when you watch Top Chef. Though now it's getting kind of weird, because they're like slowing down the pictures and changing the music, and it's like the bow chicka bow wow food porn music. And so it's one thing to like voyeur the food, but they're making it a little obvious that's what they're doing. So that's not as much fun for me. I do like the little bit at the end of every episode of Top Chef Duels where you see the two chefs sit down and share their meal. And they're all, like, really respectful of each other and discussing flavors and, I don't know, having the same conversations I feel like I have with other crafters. Only thing is they're talking about food. And that's kind of cool, you know? They're telling each other flavors the same way we talk yarn and hooks and that sort of thing. So, I don't know. I've been enjoying that part, but it really feels pretty forced. So that is all on that. So moving on to 5 things that have happened this week here on the Funny Farm. So I thought that this week I was going to have to tell you that my cat was no longer with us. The cat, who you see right there, is Jezebel. And my cats are, all 3 of them, are indoor cats, though Jezebel occasionally will go out of doors for brief periods of time and then basically get scared back inside. But this week, she was very strange in the way the whole thing happened. But she went out past me while I was bringing in wood for the wood stove. And usually she's kind of snarky when she does it. Like, she does it and then she turns around and makes sure I saw her do it. And then I go, you know, come back in. And she meows at me and walks away and chews on grass. I try and chase her and she runs away or whatever. But it was very calm and calculated the way she left. And then she didn't come back for like 2.5 days. And we had all, I mean, even the kids were on board with the fact that we thought Jezebel had run away to go die. Because I know that that is something that cats will do when they're ready to die. They just leave. So we thought, and the other 2 cats weren't flipping out that she was gone, and that was weird too. Usually if one of them is out for more than a couple hours. The other ones start bothering me till I get them back in. But no, she is here. What it did do for me is make me appreciate my fur babies. I realized that I hadn't been interacting with them as much as I used to, so I have now been going out of my way to lay my little hands on each fur baby every day, because I never know when it's going to be the last day I get to pet them. It's kind of sad. It also made me realize how old my cats are, and the fact that there is the legitimate chance that one of them will go at any point. I got all three of them within a few months of each other in 2007, and the vet thought they were like a year old then. So they're all like 8-ish, 9-ish, and they were all rescues, so I have no clue for sure that they were only a year, and you don't know what kind of life they had before they came to live with us, so you never know how long that life is going to last. So I think that you all should go and love on your fur babies because they deserve it. And you deserve it. It's very sad when your cat doesn't come and lay on your face. Okay, it's really annoying when they lay on your face. But then it's sad when you're expecting them to lay on your face and they don't. So I miss Jezebel. But now she's back and that's exciting. Let's see, number 2 thing here on the Funny Farm. It's the end of the garden. We brought in, my husband and kids, because I don't do the garden. I will put it all up and I will cook it, but I'm not going in the garden to do it usually. But anyways, they brought me the last of stuff. They brought me 2 bushel boxes, heaped overflowing with cabbage. But it was extra funny because it was accidental cabbage. We meant to plant cabbage in the spring, and we had a really late frost, and it did weird things with the beginning of the garden season. But the cabbages ended up going to seed and seeding themselves and growing fall cabbage for us accidentally. A lot of fall cabbage. So yeah, 2 bushel boxes heaped over, and then like an armful of cabbage, which I'll tell you more about for my third thing. We also have about 2/3 of a 5-gallon bucket full of beets and half a bucket of carrots and half a bucket of parsnips that I need to deal with on top of all those apples. And there's also a 1.5 bushels of sweet potatoes that are curing in front of the fire in the other room. So there's going to be no end to the canning for a while, but hopefully that means there is no end to the eating all winter. So my third thing is the cabbage. I had to do something with it so it wouldn't go to waste. And you can only eat so much cabbage raw. So I decided I was going to freeze it. So I sauteed it and then put it in with salt and pepper, cooked it down, and then put it into wide mouth quart jars, like not all the way full, and then put those into my freezer so that I can add them to soup or make like stir-fry, chop suey stuff throughout the winter. So I ended up spending 2.5 hours cooking, like just washing and then spinning in the salad spinner and cooking down and then putting into jars this cabbage. And my husband was slicing cabbage for me the whole time. 2.5 hours on cabbage. Crazy. 14 quarts in my freezer. Made me really happy we got a second freezer this year. We have a chest freezer, which we buy a pig from the county fair. And that is all in the chest freezer. And then we bought an upright freezer for putting vegetables and fruit and stuff in. Because I was having a hard time using the things in my freezer because it was always really, really full and it was always stacked. So I had to pull things out to get to the stuff on the bottom. So now I have it way more organized. And I'm able to use glass jars in my freezer because we have been eliminating plastic in as many ways as we can from our lives. So like we don't store things in plastic anymore. We use like Pyrex And I don't use plastic bags for hardly anything. And then, yeah, you can store some things in your freezer in glass jars. You have to be careful with the expansion and contractions. You have to be careful when you get them out, about how you thaw them. And you have to be careful when you put them in that you don't change the temperature too rapidly. Yeah, so let's see. My 1, 2, 3. So this is the fourth thing, is that there are birds, and right over there, through this window that you can't see, it's behind you, there is the corner of my porch. And there is a nest in that corner, and there are birds in it. Again, this is the third batch of birds that are using that nest. So I've been paying attention. I've been really into this particular nest this year, and for Christmas, I think there shall be some birdie books coming my way so that I can better know what's going on. And the last thing is that it snowed last night. Just a teeny tiny bit, but it snowed. It snowed enough that this morning my son went, "May I play in the snow?" Even though there was just a teeny covering of snow. So, anyways, that means that it is cold here today, and I actually turned on my heat. So hopefully I'm going to go and click it off here soon, because I think the house is, now in the 60s. It was 50 this morning. That's cold. So yes, I think it is time for me to say goodbye already, because I hear my troops coming up the walk. So, if you have made it to the end of this, then I love you more than cows and cheese and applesauce. And I hope that you all have a good one and continue to do such nice work.